What's going on, guys? Phil here from Custom Offsets TV on the YouTube, and it's been a long time since we've done a I never knew video, so I'm bringing one back to you, and this one's going to be relatively quick because in general I think the machined versus milling topic is fairly simple, but there are a lot of people out there that don't know the differences, or like especially if they're adding vehicles to the gallery and they have wheels. Some people might enter machined when they really have milled, and some people might enter milled when they really have machined. So we want to quickly cover the differences on the two of them, and I guess pros and cons and prices and all that kind of stuff that everybody wants to know when you compare any two topics. So I have two examples here for you. This one is pretty typical, and then this one I guess is going to be a little more extreme, but I just picked it because you can see what I'm talking about a lot more clearly on the Dub Baller here. So first we're going to look at the Archon here. So this one is milled, and the reason why I can tell that is because milling is going to typically always be on basically the edges of your spokes where they're taking it off with like a rounded bit. Because if you really get technical, and there's probably some machinists that are watching the video that are going to correct me, but essentially if you look at it from a broad perspective, machining and milling can be the same thing, but with using different bits, or depending on how you're machining or milling the product. So milling, like I was saying, is going to be more of a rounded bit where you're taking off the edges of something, which gives the illusion of having a thinner spoke, and it also just obviously gives a little pop to this, because if this wheel was all black, it wouldn't really look that defined. You wouldn't be able to see that there's some concavity. You wouldn't see the bends in the wheel or in the spokes as much. So adding that milling just kind of gives it more depth and a better appearance. Now this one too, you'll see, has the same silver color around the outside, this little ring here. Now that's not milled. This is actually a chrome ring, and it's removable, so you can take this part off. So that actually has nothing to do with the machine versus milling, but just wanted to point that out there if you're looking at it and wondering how they achieve that. Now with milling, they also do it on most lips of wheels now too. So you'll see on the top of the Archon, it says Archon, and that's milled in there, again using that round bit to go into the material, and then they're basically cutting in these letters or the logo so that you have the milled logo right on the rim of the wheel. All right, so then taking a look at the Dub Baller. Now, like I said, this is kind of a more extreme example of a machined wheel, but I wanted to use this one because it has so much machined surface. So you'll see when I'm talking about machining now, this is always gonna be on like the flat spokes of your wheel or the face of your wheel, something that sticks out. It's not cut into the edges. This is actually basically machining down the material, so you expose that aluminum alloy underneath here, and then they clear coat over that. So it's the same case on both milled wheels and machined wheels, where they put the clear coat over the top of the raw material. That's how you're getting this silver look. It's the raw aluminum alloy that's basically underneath what you typically see on like a black powder coated wheel. So exposing that and then clearing over it gives it this appearance. And again, like I was saying, this is an extreme example because there's so much of it, but it's really easy to show you. We're also going to take a look at a couple other wheels, so I can show you the different ways that companies are using this machining and the milling. But before we do that, as far as like pros and cons, there really isn't pros and cons of machined versus milled, because it just comes down to style preference, and one doesn't cost more than the other. Either way, these wheels are getting put into some sort of CNC machine, and that's how they are making these wheels. So just to show you guys that basically everybody's doing this, we got our wheel wall here. We're going to show you a couple examples. So obviously fuel's got it going on, again with the milling on the edges of these spokes, plus these like rivets are milled into the rim of the wheel. Then we move down. Now this is a compression forged wheel, so completely different process of how it's made. And this one's painted white, which you don't see all the time, yet it still has milling around the edges of the spokes, because it's giving those spokes a thinner appearance and looking more like a forged wheel. And again, milled, compression forged in the rim of this wheel, as well as those rivet styles. We move down, RBP is doing the exact same thing. Then we go to like TIS forged. Now this one, you'll see these big flat areas and think, is that machining? It's not, it's technically still milling, because if you actually look closely, again, it's on just the edges of these spokes and goes down to the flat area. And you can actually see, if you look really, really close, you might not be able to tell on camera, but you can literally see where that bit was going back and forth and back and forth to take away all this extra material and give you that thinner appearing spoke. Even though this is a forged wheel, they still want to do that, and it just gives more accent to the wheel. And then again, milled, TIS forged on both sides of the rim. Then if we jump all the way down here, now again, this is a different color wheel. This is from Axe. Again, another compression forged wheel. And what you'll see on this one is they have milling around the edges of the spokes, but then these flat spokes are machined. A lot of times it's, the way you can tell a difference is rather than lines straight up and down, you might see like an orbital pattern, like something that's rounded that would have been basically like, I guess if you could picture like an orbital disc sander going down on the face of the wheel, where then spins to take off that material, gets cleared over, and so on. Then we jump back up, take a look at this hard rock, just because they did something a little bit different. And this also looks like machining because it's on a flat surface, but it's on the edge of a spoke, so then you're like, is it milling? And then when you look really closely, you can actually see there's like each individual little drill bit mark where it was coming down to take off the edges of this. Now, you probably could have done it with the machining process if you had something that, you know, fit inside here. A lot of times the limitations are just limitations of what kind of equipment or machinery they have as far as the production of wheels. But I guess when it comes down to it, machine versus milling, a lot of people are going to say that they're basically the same thing, and really the appearance they give you is also virtually the same. So there's not really a big difference. Just important to know the differences when you put something in, because some wheels like the Moto Metal 970 are available in black and machined, where the face is machined, and the Moto Metal 970 also is available in black and milled, where just the edges of that spoke are milled. So just know what you have, know what you're buying, make sure you're getting the right thing. Come check us out, CustomOffsets.com. We do everything wheels, tires, suspension. Peace.